Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Westborough Economic Development Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Westborough's website at town.westborough.ma.us. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner: Westborough TV's online platforms, YouTube, Westborough TV, and westboroughTV.org, or on Charter Channel 192 or Verizon Channel 28. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of Westborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Thank you, Kim. I'd like to make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Townsend, yes.
Edinburgh, yes.
Bailey, yes.
Sullivan, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Williams, yes.
I think that gives us a quorum.
Jim?
Great. So Jim Robbins? You're muted.
Robbins, yes.
Thank you. Okay, great. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the January minutes. Kristen sent out to everyone.
So I move we accept the January meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Sullivan, yes.
Townsend, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Bailey, yes.
Christie?
Sorry, Williams, yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, great. Thank you everyone for joining us. And we are fortunate today to have special guests with us. We greatly appreciate your time, and we're all looking forward to hearing all that you have to offer. So I want to thank Jim Robbins for reaching out to you, and I'll turn to him to introduce you.
Thank you very much. So it's really my pleasure this morning to introduce someone that I've known for many years, Christina Johnson. Christina is the Acting Director of Planning and Community Development for the Town of Hudson. She's also currently the President of the Massachusetts Association of Planning Directors, and she's a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Christina has talked about the great revitalization of downtown Hudson at local, state, and regional planning conferences over the years. I've been fortunate enough to be in attendance at a couple of those presentations. I find them fascinating. Everything from rerouting traffic direction in the downtown to creating a business improvement district, a BID, which is something that we've talked about here in Westborough. And I know that Christina has brought the president of the Hudson BID along with her. I'm going to let Christina introduce Richard when that time comes. But I just want to start by saying thank you, Christina, for taking your afternoon and coming here to talk to us today. And if I could, can I ask everybody to just introduce themselves so she knows who her audience is?
Sure. I'll start. Bonnie Sullivan, the chair of the EDC and longtime member. I'm also former Mass Development, longtime Mass Development employee, and currently work for Middlesex Savings Bank. Todd?
I'm Todd Alexander. I'm vice chair, and I'm a local commercial real estate broker as well as developer and landlord.
Alan?
Sure. Alan Falcon. I'm a member of the Economic Development Committee. I'm also a selectman on the Board of Selectmen, and I own a small business here in Westborough as well.
Linda?
Linda Townsend. I've been a member of the EDC for almost 2 years, and I own a business in Westborough, Release Wellbeing Center.
If you haven't found it yet, you should. I'll move from over to Christy.
Hi, I'm Christy Williams. I'm the town manager.
Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Foster. I'm the assistant town manager.
Fred?
So my name is Pete Allen. I'm an ambassador member of the group. I'm a retired business executive, and for a number of years, I have been with the Worcester SCORE chapter, and I assign clients when requests come, and we do get a bunch from Hudson, just to let you know.
Hi, Fred Leonardo, recently appointed Community Development Director, and I'm the Building Commissioner in town as well.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Scott Riley, newest member of the board, just recently. I'm the plant manager of Interplast Engineering Films here in Westborough, Massachusetts.
Is that everyone? Great. Well, thank you. And thanks again, Jim and Christina. We're all excited to hear all that you have to say. I'm sorry, Kristen Bellinger as well. Kristen, I don't think we introduced you. Go
I'm
ahead.
the admin in the planning department, and I take the minutes at the EDC minutes.
Thank you. Okay. We'll turn it over to you, Christina. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having us today. We're really excited to come talk to you. And like Jim said, I've known him for years, and we classify ourselves as planning conference junkies. We love to plan conferences and attend them, and I can't wait for an in-person conference so we can sit and have a beer together and talk about what we've been up to in our respective communities. We actually have a little presentation that we would like to give with the permission of the chair. Can I share my screen, and we'll run through a really quick presentation, tell the story of Hudson and how we came to form a bid. Is that okay?
Great. I'll defer to Kim, who's the host.
Christina, you're able to share it, right? It's
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes that's turned off. I've had the unfortunate pleasure of being Zoom bombed before. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Can you all see my screen? Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I already got introduced, so thank you for that. And I'm also joined today by Richard Braga, and he's the executive director of the Downtown Hudson bid. I consider him an adjunct member of the department. I think I talk to him more than I do some of the other department heads. And he also brings a municipal lens to his new role as executive director because he served as police chief for many years for the town of Hudson. So we have a little story to tell in Hudson, and it's really a story of, transformation from vacant storefronts to vibrant streetscapes. And like many downtowns in the 70s and 80s, Hudson suffered significant disinvestment with the proliferation of large shopping plazas, just folks not really interested or in investing in the downtown. And this is a famous biker bar. Dick's probably laughing right now, probably has experience dealing with some of the issues related to this biker bar. It's called Billy Jack's. It's a famous picture of our main street. And this is basically what it looks like for many years. Not really a place you'd want to bring your family, where you would want to shop, or really where you would want to live. In many communities in Massachusetts, especially those that have a mill tradition like Hudson, have suffered similar fates. But the bones were there. The beauty of municipalities in Massachusetts and New England is that the bones are there. They're walkable. the sidewalks are there, the architecture is there, and downtown Hudson had those bones in place. So one of the things that happened a long time ago that's really important to our story is that we established a historic district commission. And what that does is it preserves the really unique architecture that's in place. And so that we can have a consistent architectural flavor throughout the downtown. And there are many historical components of the downtown. So a historic district commission, for those that don't know, that is a regulatory body. If they issue what's called certificate of appropriateness for different facade improvements or sign improvements. But again, this is just really preserving that architectural flavor of the downtown. And some of the things I'm going to talk about, they're more planning related, but I really want to underscore, and I don't need to tell Jim this, good planning is really key to ensuring that you can unlock the private investment. You've got to have the plans and the guide and the vision. It seems like an endless fruitless exercise, but really it's what gets you, to a vibrant downtown and attracting that investment. And a lot of this was done by my predecessors, including the master plan. We all love our master plans, but what's key about a master plan is you've got to implement it. It can't sit on a shelf. A lot of communities have our master plan is getting a little dated and it's probably due for an update. And your master plan should also go hand in hand with your zoning. So the zoning is the implementation of the vision in your master plan. And in fact, in some states, this is actually a legal requirement. It's called the consistency doctrine. So you really should be thinking about the appropriate regulatory strategies to achieve what's in the master plan, whether it's we want more residential downtown or we want to preserve more land, where you have to have the regulatory backup to do that. So that was kind of the first task that I worked on with the recently retired planning director, was to open the master plan and figure out what we were going to implement. And the first thing that jumped out at us was our downtown zoning regulations. Now, we are actually blessed with liberal, progressive zoning regulations. And I would say that for any downtown district, less is more with respect to zoning. But what was very unique about the downtown zoning regulations before we updated them was that the master plan called for mixed use, more residential. Guess what was not allowed in our zoning? Residential in the downtown. Kind of remarkable. So just not very congruent. So the first thing that I got to work on in Hudson was implementing new downtown zoning regulations, allowing for new upper story residential above commercial, again, emphasizing that historic character. So we're congruent with the Historic District Commission. This is before housing choice. We're considering multifamily 8 units of less as of right. You don't have to go to the zoning board. And we actually made the planning board as the special permit granting authority for multifamily over 8. Again, really trying to foster the mix of housing options. Actually, the original zoning update included design guidelines and unified wayfinding. We actually abandoned that, but we'll talk a little bit about the partnership with the bid to actually create a unified downtown wayfinding. And I will say that our downtown regulations have 0, and I say 0 parking ratios. There are no parking requirements. And the planning board has the flexibility to work with developers to achieve the right balance of parking using shared parking, municipal lots, things of that nature. There are no dimensional regulations either. We are embracing density, and also the update included new height, so we can go up to 4 stories. So we're embracing density and we're embracing height, which we think just adds to the charm of our downtown. So this is the district boundary. It wouldn't be a planning conversation without looking at a zoning map. This has been expanded a couple times, the tentacles of our downtown, to really keep the downtown posturing for future investment. We also expanded the downtown to the zoning boundaries to eliminate non-conformities. Like many downtowns, we have a lot of non-conforming uses. For whatever reason, our zoning bylaws enacted in 1954, the neighborhoods adjacent to the downtown are all single family zoned, but yet they're all multifamily. So we tried to eliminate some of these non-conformities just to make it easier for folks to think about investing in these properties. And we're seeing quite an expansion of some of these properties into more multifamily, which we think is great. So again, implementing the vision of the master plan. But we also tackled a lot of downtown infrastructure. You may know that the Assabet River Rail Trail goes right through our downtown. That was a game changer. That construction happened before. Dick can maybe talk a little bit about it. He was actually the police chief when it was being permitted, and he thought it was a silly idea at the time. It's going to be full of criminals. And that was the mentality a long time ago, is that it was unknown what these rail trails were all about. So that was already in place, and it was cultivating this new interest in our downtown. We also tackled some infrastructure projects using the typical, Mass Works projects to attract private investment. So we have an adjacent parallel street. I call this the back of the house street to our main street. It's the workhorse. It has the municipal parking facilities. It has the alleyways for the main street businesses. Typically not very attractive. As you can see on the upper left-hand corner, it's dark. There's no sidewalks. There's no landscaping. You want to go as fast as you can to your car at the municipal lot, it hugs this business right here, which is the famous Horseshoe Pub. So we received a MassWorks grant to do a whole streetscape modification and beautification, new sidewalks, lighting, landscaping, traffic calming. This is the municipal parking facility here. This is a raised crosswalk. Obviously, this was mid-construction. I should have put some updated pictures. Just completely transformed the look and feel so that folks feel safer walking to their cars, walking to the downtown. Again, trying to encourage more walking. And Dick will talk about these beautiful hanging planters, which are part of the BID's beautification program. So they went ahead and dressed up South Street. In fact, Dick was on me every day. When are those lights going up? Because I got all these plants in my backyard that we need to hang. So this was project number one. The most transformational project for our downtown, and in fact, Jim knows a little bit about this project because this was in the planning stages when I had presented it at a conference. Oh, I went too far. Is the downtown Rotary reconstruction. If you're familiar with downtown Hudson, we used to have this sort of antiquated, it's sort of a hybrid between a traffic circle and a roundabout. It's not really a rotary, but that's what everyone calls it. Wide open, not very pedestrian friendly, but it's an amazing piece of urban space. That urban realm there is amazing. It knits together these beautiful buildings and it ties together the downtown. And back in 2016, the director and I saw an opportunity to conduct sort of a placemaking exercise with the community to think about how we can reimagine this space. And boy, did they help us reimagine this space. This is what it looks like today. This is a video snapshot. The BID installed cameras in our downtown to entice people to come on down. And this is what the Rotary looks like now. More intuitive pedestrian crossings, more lighting, more expansion of the public realm. This project was actually constructed during COVID, and it couldn't have come at a better time because, as you can see on the left, the streetscape is vibrant. If you close your eyes and open them, you swear you're in Paris. It's just amazing, just people out on the streetscape. Just such a transformational project for downtown. I could go on and on about how we had to raise the political capital and the financing. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, at least on my part, but it's a remarkable project. But the other transformational aspect of our downtown, which has helped us move forward with these projects, is actually the formation of a BID. And before I hand over the virtual floor to Dick, Just wanted to give you, in case you didn't really know too much about bids, sort of the ABCs of what a bid is. So a bid is a legally defined district, and Chapter 40O is the enabling legislation where property owners self-tax themselves essentially for specific purposes that they define themselves. It can be for beautification, programming, whatever that may be. There are many bids in existence in Massachusetts. I think Hudson was the first one that was enacted after many years of not having bids. Amherst, Boston has a half dozen. Hyannis has a pretty famous bid. And the town received a grant from DHCD to hire a consultant to actually work with a group of business owners to come in and do some visioning, educating the business owners on what a bid is. So essentially, if you want to form a bid, 75% of the land needs to be zoned for commercial, retail, industrial, or mixed uses. It has to go through a petition and a public hearing process, of course. In Hudson, the Board of Selectmen ultimately signed off. This is key. You need 60% of the real property, or at least, and at least 51% of the assessed valuation of real property that's within the proposed bid. In Hudson, we went above and beyond 60% because they were ambitious, and Dick will talk about that. We got 80%, maybe even a little more. So we got huge buy-in. Obviously, you need to have a contiguous geographic area, and really the municipality acts as the fiduciary agent in terms of collecting the fees for the bid. And what's great about the bid is that if you partner with them, the bid doesn't have to deal with procurement and prevailing wage, so projects can be rolled out really quickly. So that's another positive aspect with respect to a bid. But I really would like you to hear from Dick, and I am going to flip the slide and turn the floor over to Dick.
Thank you, Christina. I may ask you to, there we go. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay and see me okay?
Yes.
Oop, wait a minute.
Yes.
Lost my notes. Where did they go? That's not supposed to happen.
And you can just tell me when to go back and forth if I go too far. Or... Do you want me to start with the map, Dick?
No, can you just take that down for a second? For some reason, I can't seem to get to my notes.
Sure.
And I don't think it's your fault. I think it's my inability. Aha, there they are. All right. My apologies. I'm sure it's me. So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Christina, for the introduction. So I'm going to give you kind of a really brief description of what it is. Whoops, there goes my notes. Christina, what just happened here?
You just need to you just need to minimize your Zoom screen.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Hopefully they'll stay there. All right. So I'm going to give you some information about the bid in general, and it's like a view from 30,000 feet. I mean, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds here, but I think I can give you a basic idea of where we've come from and what we're doing, and maybe give you some guidance if you are thinking about forming a bid. I'm familiar with your downtown. I mean, not intimately well, but certainly been there many times over the years. I've been a Hudson resident all my life. And, I think you have really good bones there. It's a real attractive looking downtown. Kind of in a way, you have that rotary circle like we have that's kind of the focal point of your downtown area as well. So the bid kind of spun off of the Hudson Business Association, which still exists. And the Hudson Business Association was a group of business community members that were not specifically all tied to the Main Street area, but most were, that formed some years back, and primarily during the time of the recession around 2008. And at that time, we had about 25 plus or minus storefront vacancies. So things really did not look all that great down on our Main Street. At the time, they put together some ideas about buy local and things like that they hoped would help get businesses occupied. They did a really good job interviewing or doing a couple things. First of all, they tried to get together with one real estate agent that somehow would kind of represent the whole downtown. So when somebody was looking for spaces, that particular agent had that information for them. From there, the Hudson Business Association members also very much tried to recruit businesses to come to downtown Hudson. Fortunately for them, they were able to convince a group of young entrepreneurs to open up the Rail Trail Flatbread Company. And that really was the beginning of the change for us. It's a real hit place. It attracted a lot of customers. People were taking notice. Other businesses were taking notice. The same group also opened a micro creamery across the way, and eventually would open a speakeasy as well. But in the meantime, we had interest from other businesses that were interested in locating, Medusa Brewery being one of them, and Amaya Martini Bar. And we always had a pretty good solid restaurant in Sophia's, which was down on the eastern end of our business district as well. So it's kind of the eating establishments that got things going for us. And all this happened over a period of years. I mean, it just didn't happen instantaneously, but I think we would all agree that the rail trail was made a big difference in the transformation of our Main Street. When all this was happening, they wanted to keep this momentum going. It certainly didn't want to fall back to where we were. And they got the help of Ann Burke, who works for the state and helps form bids. And they together, what they did was formed a bid that they actually got certified in November of 17. And I'll just really try to briefly tell you about how that came about. So they got together as a group, and I had stepped in at that point of, I would say I was probably around March or so of 17. So about maybe 6 or 8 months or so before they finally got their certification. But Christina and others and Jack Hunter were in this before I was, and they were trying to get the bid off the ground and get all the property owners to sign that they wanted something like this. But they did a real hard push for the last 6 months, and were able to get, like Christina said earlier, in excess of 80% of the property owners that thought that, you know what, this is a good idea, despite the fact that it's going to cost us some money out of pocket. So we began operating on January 1st of 2018, just about a month after we got certified. But as Ann Burke has described us, we're small, but we're mighty. We are the smallest bid in the Commonwealth. We only have about $130,000 of income from our businesses each year. And we've also worked with the town to get grants to offset that, to do some of the other things we wanted to do as well. So, we're not one of the biggest bids. And I'll give you an analogy. The largest bid in Boston has an annual income of 6.1 million. So there's a big spread between the smallest and the largest, but there are a number of us that are in the, say, $130,000 to $250,000 range. So when we first got formed, we elected to concentrate our efforts on things people could see. We did not want to sit back and maybe start dealing with things that weren't all that visible. We wanted certainly the people that were contributing to the bid to see where their money was being spent, and also for our residents and visitors to see changes in our district. So we started primarily with beautification projects. For example, the flower baskets that you saw in some of those pictures, those are ours. You may have noticed also in those pictures, the nighttime scenes, is a light ball. It's about 24 inches around, and it's all has these little white, soft LED lights. Just kind of adds a nice little mood to the downtown, at night. And they're up all the time, 12 months a year. It's not a Christmas thing or anything. We added benches, we added trash receptacles. We partnered with the DPW who agreed to pick up the trash. And that made a big difference on what the appearance of the Main Street looked like. We also started seeing that the sidewalks were washed every year. In fact, we bought a sidewalk washing machine and then donated it to the DPW with the understanding that they would in turn wash those sidewalks for us. We restrung all of the 126 Christmas wreaths that were 25 years old, and had almost none of the lights that were originally, when the wreaths originally purchased, those original lights, almost none of those were working. So we restrung those, took months to do, but it made a big difference in how things looked at the holidays. We also put together some events to attract people to downtown. One was the Arts Fest, which is the first Saturday in May, where we also hold a 5K run for the arts. Needless to say, none of these things that I'm talking about now happened this year, but we did do them for the two prior. We also have a Taste of Hudson in October, where all our restaurants get together and bring samplings of their food for guests that come to, taste the different options that are available in all of our restaurants within our district. We also partnered with the Hudson Business Association to enhance the downtown holiday stroll. At that event, we have horses with carriages that give people rides, and Santa Claus and elves, and one of the beautification things that we did for the holidays was that we lit all the shrubbery and trees on the front of the town hall, and we had also did the bushes at the Rotary. But once the Rotary got redesigned, there's just low vegetation there at the moment. So we took the lights that we had there and then relocated them at the library. We also had purchased a bunch of white lights and offered them to any stores that wanted to trim the inside of their windows. So, our downtown looked, and we provide all that stuff free of charge. And we, our downtown actually looked, I think, significantly better this year than it has in the past. Not that it looked that bad in the last 5 years or so, but it keeps getting better every year, and it's in part due to, or much of what the bid does to enhance the look of the Main Street and attached streets in South Street, which makes up our bid area. We also get involved in marketing strategies. We drafted a sidewalk dining policy regulations that the town had never had before, that were adopted by the Board of Selectmen. And we now have sidewalk dining at many locations. We launched a modern, attractive, and sophisticated website that I encourage you to take a look at. And it's at discoverhudson.org. We collaborated with the town to hire consultants to design wayfinding signs and engineers to redesign our Riverwalk, providing connectivity to our downtown and to our rail trail. And Christina had mentioned the rail trail. We're so fortunate. Here, I'm singing a different song 20 years later, but when this was first proposed, so I became police chief in 1998. And it was very long after that that the rail trail design was first advanced to my office. And immediately I figured, well, yeah, this is great. This is going to be a super highway for all the thieves that are breaking into houses that are, that border up to the rail trail and all this. I could see nothing good about it. I expressed my displeasure. The town, well, they didn't really have a town planner then, but they did have a person that did quite a bit of that stuff. And she was saying people were going to be using this to go to work and everything. And I was just completely dismissive of it. However, fortunately, no one listened to me, and the rail trail became a reality. And I think within the first week or two of it actually being opened up to the public, my wife and my daughter and myself did a bike ride the whole length of it, which is 5.2 miles. And I immediately got on the phone when I got back to the house. It was on a Sunday, and I left Michelle Socolo a message to tell her that she was right and I was wrong. And I had even seen somebody wearing a Hannaford jacket going to work and using the rail trail to get there. So it was a wonderful thing that really enhanced our downtown. And it provides another level, I think, of pedestrian connectivity that, we're really fortunate to have. We also, to that same end, this new Riverwalk will have somewhat of a connection to that trail in different ways. It won't necessarily have a hard surface that connects there because it comes up short and there's a big grade, but by going around, there will be connection there. It'll help make things much more walkable in that whole area downtown. Christina also mentioned we have live stream cameras. We just got those activated within the last 3 weeks. You might have seen those kinds of things at shore communities. We put them up not as a security thing, but as a means for people to access our website, gets that traffic to that site. At the same time, they can take a look and see, all the activity that's going on downtown, and they can maybe say, hey, you know what, I want to be a part of that fun. There's a lot of people down there right now. And our sidewalks on a Thursday, Friday, or a Saturday night, pre-COVID, are similar to what you would see in downtown Boston. There are people walking all over the place. They're going from one place to another. They'll go to a restaurant for a meal. They might start with an appetizer first someplace else. They'll do dessert at another place. They'll go down to Medusa for a beer. It's really a great vibe. And if you haven't been down, I encourage you to do so. One of the things that we did post-COVID, we had a meeting shortly after, everything happened and everything started getting closed down. And we said to ourselves that, we have about 105 different businesses down there, and it really doesn't make much of a difference if we spend a fortune on flowers and light bulbs and trash cans and things like that, if we don't have any businesses left when this is all over. So we kind of switched gears and concentrated on how we can save our businesses. So the bid hired a certified public accountant and then offered his services to all of the property owners that contribute to the bid and to all of their tenants, so that they could have help navigating through the various stimulus packages, helping with applications. Right now, that CPA is still retained, and he's helping them with the forgiveness component of the original PPP loans and EIDL loans, and he's also helping them with the PPP2 loans. So, and none of
What firm is that, Richard? Excuse me. Who is that, Richard?
Well, it's a retired gentleman who, and I mean, we just hit the jackpot with this guy. So he's retired. He lives in Hudson. He kind of wanted to help Hudson. It was a professor at a college. He is a PhD and a CPA, and he had connection or involvement with the Internal Revenue Service at one point. So he's incredibly knowledgeable, and he's kind of doing for this kind of as a favor for us at what would be a reduced rate. I mean, if we had to go out and pay a firm to do this, you know, it may have been cost prohibitive, but he was very reasonable with us, and as such, we've continued to retain him even to this point, and we will throughout the process until we can, you know, get away from all of what's going on here, and hopefully that'll be sooner than later. We also worked with the town to expedite the temporary outside dining approvals. I kind of act as an unpaid real estate agent trying to match up prospective tenants with landlords. And, you know, like every other community, and I suspect you folks may have had the same problem, you know, we're going to have battle scars, and we've already had a few businesses close. But we've been fortunate in that we've been able to fill many of these places where I know other communities have not had a lot of success in that. And I hear that every 2 weeks I meet with my fellow bid directors, and I hear a lot of doom and gloom. And sometimes I'm the only guy that's saying, hey, you know what? I filled a place this week, or we have somebody else looking at this place. And so it's really been good. And I think it hasn't been good, but I think we fared better maybe than some other communities because we do have a really good network of support there, whether it be through the bid and working together with certainly with the town. And also we have good working relationship with the chamber and with the Hudson Business Association. So together we all try to get things done and make good things happen in Hudson, where right now, you know, that's not necessarily the case in other communities. Everybody's just trying to hold on to what they have, and they don't really have a plan for how to move forward. To that end, we created a 5x7 poster, and this you won't be able to maybe read it, but it says, "We're missing a place like yours," and it has pictures of the downtown area and all that. And we give this out when we go to other places. Like if we like a business in your community, you say, this is kind of a unique boutique-y kind of place that we'd like to see in our own community. And we give them this card. It has all the information for the bid. Hopefully they call us. We try to encourage them to come to town. And we reach out to other businesses that we like and try to plant that seed in their head that if they're interested in establishing new locations, that we're interested in talking to them. We also established in 2020 a grant to subsidize rent for an arts-related business. We felt that we did not have good representation, you know, from the arts and cultural side. You know, we're really heavy on restaurants and some other things, but arts wasn't one of them. So we were fortunate, and arts can be a whole bunch of things, right? It doesn't necessarily mean painting. We were actually able to attract a music store that opened up in January. He took advantage of that grant. That grant was for $500 a month, up to $500 a month, or $6,000 a year, to offset the rent that they would otherwise be paying. So I'll try to wrap it up here in that we think that there's a secret sauce, and that's what we call it, to our success. And I would describe, and Christina can jump in here at any time too. I mean, I would describe that secret sauce as the people and the level of cooperation that we have. Like I said, we work together with the chamber, the HBA, most significantly the town. The town has a seat at our table for literally everything that we do, and we're consulted by them and also given a seat at anything that even remotely relates to the business district. We have our e-board is made up of our president, vice president, treasurer, secretary. And, without naming names and everything, I'll try to give you a little bit of a description of each one of them. So our president he's a bulldog that, advances, I think, our creative agenda. Our vice president is a young entrepreneur who is our visionary. He sees things through from a younger perspective. He's an MBA at Babson through their program there, and he owns 3 businesses downtown. So, we have a different makeup, and that's what makes us successful. Our treasurer is a level-headed, community-oriented CPA who offers, well thought out advice. Our secretary is action-oriented, incredibly detailed, and willing to sit on literally every committee. And we have our ex officio member, Christina, who's always right there in the thick of things. And although I'm the director of the bid, I'm not handed the task of, okay, go out there and do all things bid. We meet as a team. We work as a team. Our committees are as committed as I am, and as committed as our e-board. So I think we've put together a group that just has an incredible amount of energy and interest. And sometimes I think these things wane over time, but I've seen no sign of it, and we're 2.5 years into our formation now. And, I think that you would need to consider putting together a team like that. And if you can do it, I think you can get your mission accomplished.
Fantastic. Very exciting.
And I'm sure Christina and I are certainly happy to answer any questions you might have.
I'm sure we could continue to talk and ask you questions for another 45 minutes till the end of our meeting, but maybe I don't know if others, we do have another discussion on our agenda. Are there questions that anyone would like to raise right now while we do have Christina and Richard with us? Alan?
Could you describe the process of sort of pitching the idea to the business owners and the land and the property owners? It sounded like there was some effort there. And that's obviously, it seems like, that's the biggest hurdle, is getting people to understand that it's going to be a worthwhile expense.
Right. I think, and Christina, jump in too, but I think that what the strategy that we took was—
It was Arthur, the bulldog you described.
The bulldog started everything. And then from there, we decided to visit all the low-hanging fruit first. In other words, the ones that were more likely to see this as a benefit, that we thought would really sign on, we would get them to sign first. And then we would take them and say, well, which people are you friendly with in this group? Which ones do you think that you could get? And then they would go to that next level and next level. And let's face it, we got to the end and there were some people we couldn't get, but we got over 80%. So that was huge. And I think that was a winning strategy for us.
And also they had a brochure as well, and everyone agreed to clear, concise talking points, and tried not to get too technical about it. Didn't use the word tax. It's a fee. Arthur used to use the metaphor about, well, the town gives us a plain pizza, but we want the extra toppings, and by forming the bid, we'll be able to decorate the pizza with whatever toppings we want. Isn't this exciting? But really it came down to, we took the assessor's cards for all the property owners, and actually that was a good thing. We got some cleanup done the assessor's records were terrible, I remember, and that was a whole process in itself. So beware, you will discover that, you know, things are not matching up and property owners have changed. And but essentially it was just the messaging was really clear, concise, and the fear of missing out on something really exciting. But as Dick said, the low-hanging fruit, the people you know that are going to jump on board right away, get them, leverage their capital, and keep going. And that's essentially what they did. I honestly didn't think they would get it 80%. I was like, yeah, right. Just go for 60. And Arthur said, no way, we're going to show the town that this is the real deal. So, and they did.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Maybe just quickly, what were some of the grants that you received?
Oh, mostly so for the infrastructure grants, we received funding through MassWorks. So Jim is probably very familiar with this program. It's through the Executive Office of Economic Development. It's tied to private development that's occurring. That funded the Rotary, well, part of the Rotary. Originally, we tried to tie South Street and the Rotary together and get it done as one project. That didn't happen. It is what it is. And so we applied for 2 consecutive MassWorks grants. The Rotary was a multifaceted financing effort. We had some leftover money, mitigation funds that were negotiated long before I was there. For the Highland Commons development, which is off of 495, there was some mitigation money that could only be used for the downtown Rotary. And part of that money paid for the design. And then we used the remaining money to pay for consultant services to oversee the construction, as well as some of the construction cost. We had to go, I call it the NPR pledge drive. We had to go to town meeting and we had to go for a debt exclusion. And without the bid, this is where the bid helps the town. Without the political capital and support of the bid and the HBA, we would not have gotten the debt exclusion to fund. We had to go for $800,000 to complete the financing. And I think it's a 2/3 vote. And I think there wasn't even a standing count. It passed on the first go around. And so that's the Rotary. Some of the other miscellaneous activities. So the downtown wayfinding program that we got money through, well, it's not money, it's consultant services through DHCD's Downtown Initiative program. We recently got an award from Mass DOT under the Shared Streets program to implement the Riverwalk project or at least the first phase of it that Dick was describing. We've used Mass Development Site Readiness Grant. We didn't really talk about this project in our presentation, but we recently demolished a blighted, highly contaminated, Superfund, almost blew up, haunted mill building right on the outskirts of our downtown through the Mass Development Site Readiness Program. I think we've used just about every financing option because our select board is very insistent that we are good stewards of the taxpayer dollars and to try to do things without going to the local taxpayer.
Excellent.
Christina, I have a question about the actual makeover of the downtown and the streetscape. So every community that has a Rotary, like Hudson, like Westborough, has a love-hate relationship with the Rotary. I'll call it a directional flow interchange, because that's really what it does. It allows people to flow through a congested area that could be a free-for-all without some directional guidance. I mean, look at Kelly Square in Worcester prior to the fix that they're doing right now. That was taking your life in your hands. Westborough and Hudson are not quite like that, but they are areas of congestion, and people complain about the Rotary all the time. They think every bottleneck in the downtown is the Rotary's responsibility. I saw in the before pictures that there was parking allowed in the Rotary.
Mm-hmm.
We have parking allowed in the Rotary, and every time we try to address the congestion in the Rotary, we've discussed removing the parking in the Rotary, and that's the first thing that the merchants say, you can't do that, because if someone sees I don't have a parking space in front of my storefront, they won't come in. So we've changed the parking a little bit. We've gone from 45-degree head-in parking to parallel parking, but that's still not going to give us the wide sidewalk that you have in the after picture, which is what provides the sidewalk cafe and seating environment that creates the enthusiasm for the walking and traveling from storefront to storefront. So we would have to give up the parking in the Rotary to make that happen, to bring the storefronts to the street. Explain to me what that was like working with the merchants where they had parking in front of their door.
We didn't actually lose parking in the Rotary. So we had a mandate directive from the select board. You will not lose any parking for this project or we won't support it. So we really had to push our designers. Now, when you look at the original picture of the downtown Rotary, there's a lot of pavement there. We had a lot of room to work with, so that was good. We had a lot of room. At the end of the day, we only lost 3 parking spaces, and that was only because of unanticipated topography and engineering conditions discovered in the midst of construction. So at the end of the day, we only lost 3, and that's pretty good. So all the parking spaces that were in front of the merchants, who typically, we did have, actually, it wasn't the Rotary project in terms of parking, it was the fact that Hudson started enforcing the parking regulations that were not enforced for many years. You could just park forever. Well, there's a 2-hour limit, and a former retired police officer who's very diligent. I mean, 1 minute over and you got a ticket. I mean, he is something else and he loves it. He just walks around and he writes tickets. Started enforcing parking to create the turnover that's needed. And that's when the town got the ear of some of the merchants who, but this is my space. This is where I parked for 20 years. How dare you make me walk a quarter of a mile from the municipal lot? You know, that was the culture change. So lucky for us, the infrastructure project created other Facebook moments, but not, I guess people didn't believe that the parking would come back because everybody's out there with their cameras and nothing is striped in the middle of construction. They're taking everything away. We don't hear much about parking anymore. People are going to complain about anything, but really it's the enforcement. And I think Dick can attest to that the town has heard a lot of complaints from the merchants who, you know, where are my employees supposed to park? There's no place to park in downtown, which is not true. We have not a supply problem, but a management issue. And that is something also that the bid has helped us with, because the bid is not subject to the same insurance requirements or bidding that the town is. They struck a deal with a video bank that has an employee lot underutilized on South Street at night. Well, guess what? That becomes public parking at night just to serve the, I think it's, Dick, is it Thursday through Saturday or just Friday?
Thursday through Saturday.
Thursday through Saturday after 5?
Correct, and there's 45 spaces there.
Right. So parking is always going to give you heartburn in your downtown, no matter what. There's either never enough. It's, you know, it's not close enough. There's not enough handicap space, and it's just. I think most of our merchants understood that it's a balancing act. If we want the wider sidewalks and if we want the turnover, you know, we're all going to have to be in this parking management business because the town is not building a parking garage, which at one point was kind of the solution, right? We just got to build parking garages. And that's not a great land use in your downtown. So, but it sounds like, Jim, we have the same stories, different outcomes.
Thank you.
Other
Christina,
questions? Or
one other thing, excuse me, Bonnie. Christina, are you still able to share your screen? Can you show that slide of the before and after in the Rotary?
Oh, yeah, sure. Here's a picture of the private lot. Oh, and the bid also helped us like Dick said, with takeout 15-minute parking designations during COVID as well. Come on. Here we go. So this is up top here. This is the picture below doesn't show all the vehicles, parked. I don't know when this was. It's probably early in the morning. Yeah, 8 a.m. But there's parking. It actually, some of the parking spaces, from a safety perspective, would want them removed. They're just, to me, they're dangerous, but they're still there.
Jim, a few of the spaces were actually moved, because
Yep.
if you look in front of one of the buildings there, in the before picture, there's a car there, and in the newer version of it, you can't park in front of that particular building, but they were relocated up on Felton Street. Christina could probably show you where the house where that is, and literally kind of right next to where they were.
I see. So they're maybe around the corner.
Yes.
So you didn't have a net loss, but you had a relocation of parking.
Correct.
And the widening of the sidewalks and the necking down or narrowing of the traveled way creates a safer flow, because what you had before with a smaller rotary, you had kind of a free-for-all with 2 or 3 lanes there around the rotary. You could have people driving side by side, right? So I like the neck down. I like the wider sidewalks that provides for both seating outside, and with the seating, you can still walk by the cafe or the restaurant. It doesn't take up the entire sidewalk. In our current model, if we had outdoor seating, it would take up the majority of the sidewalk. So we would have to widen the sidewalk.
Is there a difference also in the number of, roads that are coming in and into the Rotary? I think I see 3.
Yeah, it's the confluence of Route 62, so that's Main Street, Route 85, which is Washington Street, that turns into Central Street, or Central, it branches off into Central and Coolidge Street. So it's, like many of these downtown Rotary, it's from an engineering perspective, it's not a Rotary. That Rotary is what you see on the Cape, these large diameter centers, high rates of speed going in, entering, is that it's just serving as like the confluence of roadways before, there may have been, this was actually a square a long time ago. It's actually called Wood Square. Some of the some of the select board members still call it Wood Square, no matter what you call it. It is Wood Square. So it's just the confluence of, the streets, but, they're all under the jurisdiction of the town. They're state numbered, locally owned roadways. The volumes are about 20,000 annually, I believe. I forget, those numbers were from 2016, but I just adore this space because I'm looking at it from an urban design perspective and what it does for the urban realm. And I knew right away when I first started working here that this was going to be a project that we could do and sell to the community. And it was really pitched as a safety, pedestrian friendly, not taking, to cross the street with the old Rotary configuration was just terrible. And our library is downtown, the fire station is downtown, you have all these other civic uses happening, you've got children, and then couple that with, downtown being, Thursday nights are it was the place to be. Used to feel when I would come out of my zoning board meetings, which are on Thursday nights, I'd feel like a loser going home. Everyone's coming into town for their evening. So again, I think you need to think about your infrastructure in a different way and think about reimagining it in a different way, and that it can really create a sense of place. So just not thinking about it as a Mass DOT effort. Like we did not want a Mass DOT project. It's why we never went after TIP money. It's why we went after economic development money, because we did not want to deal with, a DOT standard project, you know, because I don't think they would have constructed this or, you know, approved some of the design features that we did.
And making the downtown more walkable like this, Christina, I'm sure has really led to the attractiveness of revitalizing older buildings and creating more housing opportunities downtown. It's very attractive. It looks very walkable. People want to live there as opposed to a wide open area that's car friendly. You've created a pedestrian friendly environment.
That's right. But this design was moved forward by the residents of the town. So that's really important with a placemaking exercise, is that this didn't come from a top-down approach. This wasn't the planning department, even though we would have had the same vision. We went out into the community. We put out maps, draw, tell us, talk to us, tell us stories, tell us the history. We put this process in the hands of the community, and that was a good selling point when we were trying to get this funded. You know, when we were able to say, well, the community wanted, you know, this type of project for downtown.
One quick question that occurs to me. In our downtown near the Rotary, we have a few gas stations and a number of car repair shops. Did you have challenges such as this in terms of the fact that they're never going to encourage people to walk by them and enjoy them? Did you have instances like that? And if so, how did you deal with them?
I'll start, and Dick, maybe you have some thoughts. I would call our downtown a working downtown. It's not all just restaurants and sidewalk cafes. We've got some old school, there's 2 gas stations actually right on the periphery. Here, I'll share my screen again. As you exit the Rotary onto Washington Street, you see that there are 2 gas stations that are right in our downtown. People need to get gas, you know. Actually, they were both filmed in a movie, a stupid straight to Netflix movie. That's the other thing. Hudson has become a filming mecca. Part of my job, I've coordinated filming crews that have come in and wanted to use our downtown because they think it's cute. We have a tire store that's right smack in the middle of our downtown. We have an ugly Domino's pizza building that's in the middle of our downtown. There's an old lumber factory area that's in the process of being redeveloped. But I think from a planning perspective, you have to just embrace some of the uses. You know, Hudson is has an industrial mill history, and you're not just I don't think you should erase that by just, we're just gonna have martini bars and breweries. And although breweries tend to like some of these older mill building areas because they're really cool. Apparently that's what hipsters like. Who knew? But we struggle with having some of the not undesirable, but land uses that are not sexy. They're more industrial, sort of the outskirts of our downtown. The neighborhood is a little tired. The income levels are probably not there. So we're struggling with, those types of issues. I don't know, Dick, if you have anything to add.
No, I don't think so. I think out of the garages that you talked about, there's 1, 2, 3 gas stations, the tire place. I thought there was one more thing I was thinking of.
Oh, that's right. The European car repair shop.
And I believe that everyone but one signed in the affirmative to form the bid. And I think the only reason why the other one didn't was because they're out of town owners. We weren't able to get a hold of them.
Another question. You mentioned working with the select board on policies and bylaws. What kind of policies and bylaws have you worked on? I mean, I think, for our downtown area, one of the things that could be we had a parking study done, which says we have tons of parking. It's just not where the people want to park relative to where they want to go. And so, one way to solve that could be potentially to allow for valet parking and having bylaws and policies around that. Are those types of things you've done already or things you're considering?
We have talked about valet parking. We've had a number of meetings on that. We've met with a valet company. However, it all happened kind of just before COVID, and needless to say, all that stuff at the moment is on back burner. But the rules and regulations, or the regulations that I was referring to earlier that I had helped write was the outside dining regulations. So that's
I think you
primarily.
guys helped with the food truck regulations. That became a hot button issue for a while, or maybe that was the HBA. I don't quite remember.
It wasn't me, I know that.
Oh, okay. We also have food truck regulations because there was concern at the time. Breweries attract food trucks. That's what they do. That's their business model. And apparently they were parking on Main Street, and some other businesses didn't like that, and so on and so forth. So we now have food truck regulations. So no food trucks on Main Street.
I have a question. With the upgrade, did you have to move any stoplights or stop signs or anything like that to help with the flow through the downtown area?
You mean, well, there was all new signage that was installed. So everything that was there was taken away. And then there was a whole new signage package that was proposed as part of the design, with that matched, the crosswalks and the yield signs, the directional signs, all of that were replaced in part of the construction project. But there were no right-of-way takings or anything like that. Like I said, we had plenty of space to work within for that project, but a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And it was unfortunate. We didn't have the luck of the draw with contractors. The contractor we had was brutal, trying to nickel and dime it was a very difficult project to get completed. So, and it was the DPW and the bid and myself just trying to get this project done. But there was one point in time, and I'm sure Dick had many phone calls from me of just, I could care less about this project. I just want it done. But now I'm so glad that we got it done because it's so transformational.
But on the plus side, they got it done in record time.
Oh, this contractor was fast, but it was like 2 days after they would submit a payment requisition. When are we getting paid? I'm like, you understand it has to go through a municipal finance process, and our town is pretty good. Like, you get paid in 2 weeks. It's not 2 months, it's 2 weeks. Where's our payment?
So how long was the process from when you first envisioned the redevelopment?
We started in 2016 with sort of the planning and visioning. It laid dormant for a while because we were trying to get it funded. So we had a 25% design that usually gets you to a MassWorks grant. That's what they consider shovel ready. Like I said, we tried to fund it with the South Street project, and that just didn't happen. We have our theories as to why, but it is what it is. And we did not receive the MassWorks application or the allocation until 2019, but it wasn't enough. And so we had to go to town meeting. So soup to nuts, the construction was the least amount of time, actually. So it was about a 4-year effort, but you want to do the right planning. You want to do that outreach, and you want to have that under your belt before you do something radical. Because if you wanted some laughs, I'm sure you have your community Facebook pages. This was like the Rotary was a hot topic of conversation for many, many months, many. And now it's like a campaign platform. Like, what are your thoughts on the new Rotary design? Which is good because people are talking about it. But it was a long process. But the construction component was, like Dick said, it started, we issued a notice to proceed in like the end of April. We weren't sure if COVID was going to shut us down. That didn't happen. And they were done with most everything in the end of August, few miscellaneous stuff. I gave back their retainage in October. So that's quick.
You had mentioned that you guys made some changes to the sidewalk dining regulations. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and specifically what you had done?
Well, we didn't have any, so we had to create them. So essentially what we did was, and I can send you a copy of them so you can have an idea of what it looks like, but we set up regulations that have to do with the types of look that we're looking for, the types of furniture. They just can't, put in anything they want. That has to go, there's a review process to it. There has to be a certain amount of space. There has to be a certain amount of free space for people that are walking on the sidewalks, that type of thing. Yep, but I'm happy to forward it to you.
What is the width now that you have?
Well, right now during COVID, they're insisting on 6 feet, but pre-COVID was 4 feet. And that's for baby carriages and wheelchairs and things to that effect. And I don't know if you have, we had in our older parts of the sidewalk, we still have like a brick border, and it can't include any of that because that's an irregular surface. So it's only the sidewalk part itself, the concrete part.
We don't have our zoning does not regulate outside dining. I know some communities that's part of their zoning, which makes it more challenging. Thankfully, like I said, the beauty of our downtown zoning regulations is that they are very liberal, and I don't mean it in the political sense. I just mean, less is more in the downtown. You got to give the flexibility. So many I live in Framingham, and I'm on the planning board in Framingham. Framingham is so overregulated by zoning that before the governor relaxed, the zoning issues with outside dining and the ABCC regulations, we were struggling with how do we get these zoning amendments to undo, some of these things so we can have outside dining. In Hudson, we didn't have that. We just had a good set of outside dining regulations that were crafted and approved by the select board, and that was really it. So if I could, one takeaway is less is more with zoning in the downtown. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but you want the flexibility, to make tweaks without having to go to town meeting or any of that kind of stuff. Like, just allow for that flexibility.
Other questions or things people would like to discuss further? Thank you very much. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say thank you. This has been fabulous.
Yeah.
I've got 7 pages of notes.
Oh, yeah.
It sure has. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you.
And I'm sure
I'm glad that I put on makeup now that I know that this is on your local TV station.
Yeah.
And we're happy, or at least I speak for myself, but I know Christina would say the same. But any further questions, we're happy to answer them. If you want us to talk to somebody else, we're happy to do that too.
Or come back.
Yep, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
We'll
you so
definitely take you
much.
up on that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
really
Sorry we took up
appreciate
your
it.
entire meeting, but we enjoyed
No,
it.
that's okay. It was well worth it. So
Well,
good luck to you
post-COVID,
with all your.
You can come to Hudson, or maybe we can come to Westborough and see your downtown. We'd love that. We love learning about other communities too.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll see all of us in your downtown. So good luck to you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jim. That was fantastic. So, so what time do we have now? I think we have 7 minutes. I know that Alan, by no means disrespect, but I think we all
No,
appreciated the conversation, the
But yeah,
presentation.
I put in the chat, it's like, push me off to
Yeah.
next month or whatever, so that we can allow this discussion, because I think this will help formulate how we think about our goals for the next year
Mhm.
as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was great. Well, maybe then we do put your discussion on. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to comment on, Ellen. I know you got some feedback from people. I forwarded, Derek wasn't able to join us, but he did have some good thoughts on downtown with wastewater, with capacity in the downtown.
So-
And go ahead.
Why don't I can send out some of the materials I was going to present today, have people look it over, and we really there was such a consistency in the response. I would just ask if people after today's meeting, if they have other ideas or suggestions, to go back into the forum and submit it, and then maybe I can whittle it down and next week send out a list of 15 or 20 things and people can vote. Or I can, propose some goals and people can comment and vote to make the discussion next month, time efficient.
Okay. That sounds good. I think we did leave maybe 5 minutes for updates, and because we did pull off some of our typical monthly updates. So on that front, I don't know, we do have a few things. Kim might want to speak to some of the initiatives that she's been moving ahead with.
Sure. I think 2 updates. One, we did get the official notice and approval that the town received or will receive the technical assistance grant associated with the Massachusetts Downtown Initiatives Local Rapid Recovery Planning Program. So that's the grant we applied for, the assistance we applied for back in December. This is not monetary, it is technical assistance, and the state will be assigning a consultant to assist us in the coming weeks. So I will keep you informed as we learn more about that. The other update is our recruitment is underway for the Economic Development Coordinator. We have been conducting interviews, and we are continuing that process and are hopeful that we might be wrapping it up within the coming weeks.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you. On Westborough, I know that on the Why Westborough video, I had an opportunity to speak with Karen, and her team continues to move ahead with video and working on getting a lot of the footage. We are working on getting questions together to forward to the Lieutenant Governor for, they're going to do a video. Their contribution will be an interview off-site. So that's where we stand on that front. I don't know, Fred, do you have any updates that you'd like to share?
The only, and this kind of will go into our goals a little bit. One of the things we have to consider, and this will be true of the Economic Development Coordinator. One of the requests I got recently was from Flirt Boutique, which is downtown. It's right by Cork and Green. It's right at the Rotary. And one of the things they're looking for help for is how to get advertising and/or how to get their name out. And so those are kind of the type of philosophies of things I'd like the committee to look at too, is how we help those downtown businesses, or any business for that matter, when they request that type of thing. Because I was kind of at a loss myself to say, she asked about signage and blah, 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 but there's only limited things you can do with that. But I wanted to just touch base with that at this point.
Jim, do you have anything? I'm not sure, Jim Robbins, if you're still on. Looks like you may have had to jump off. Christy, do you have anything you want to share? No? Okay. Anyone else? Todd?
I'll just say that on a leasing front, I would say activity is pretty good right now in Westborough. Actually had a couple showings with multiple showings with one group for the Steinmart space at Bay State Commons, which is encouraging. That's been vacant for 2 years, and up until this group came along, we've only had one potential tenant through there. It's not to say something's going to happen with them, but it's nice to see that we're finally opening the doors and getting people through. I've had a couple showings up at 205 Turnpike next to Linda. One group, second showing with them today, and they're working on a fit plan. So, some positive signs out there.
Yep, great. Pete, I know you've been busy advising companies, as I've seen with the PPP program. What is your experience? What are you seeing through SCORE and your involvement with the chamber?
I guess in general, I would just say that entrepreneurs don't seem to be dissuaded by COVID pandemics. There is a lot of interest and activity in starting up their own ventures. And I think as they see other businesses going under, there are entrepreneurs who see that as an opportunity for them to jump in without, some existing competitors. And so I guess hope springs eternal is the best way I could put a shorthand on it.
Thank you. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know you're just rejoining. Jim Robbins? I don't know. Linda, anything on your end?
Nope, all good. I had an exchange with Karen, and I think she was going to ask us to reconvene either next week or the following week. So I was just waiting to hear which week she preferred. So I'll reach out to the group to set that up.
Okay, great.
Hey, Bonnie, if I could say
Sure.
one other thing in regards
Sure.
to Bay State Commons. The landlord there, as of today, has executed a license agreement with UMass. They're going to be taking the space to the left of Boston Ski and Tennis. It's a short-term, it's not even a lease. The landlord's actually donating the space to them free of charge, and the landlord's covering the utility expenses. It's going to be the old 300th anniversary space, and it's going to be used for COVID-19 vaccinations. So they're going to be setting up a vaccination location there. It'll be there through the end of July. And, it's hard on these hospitals because they're getting the vaccinations. The federal government's giving them the vaccinations, but they're not providing any monetary support as far as helping them in distributing them and even renting space for that. So it's pretty nice gesture that the landlords were willing to donate the space and cover their space too. So.
Oh, that's great. It'd be good to get the traffic in there as well. Hopefully something will materialize. Scott, did you have anything that you may want to add as?
Well, actually, I did about 3 days of homework. I drove around Westborough looking at different places, and I had some ideas. So I'll reach out after the meeting and see the best way to present them in the proper form. And because one of the things that I find very attractive about the state and about the town is the history. And so that was one of the things. So like I said, after the meeting, I'll reach out and see the proper way to the proper platform to put things in.
Good. Very good. Well, we are scheduled for our next meeting will be March 4th. And in between now and then, I'm sure there will be other discussions and committees that will be moving ahead. So we should be hearing, we'll hear from Alan. I'm sure there will be developments with Kim and with the Westborough. So thank you, everyone. And I think this was great, Jim. Thank you very much for coordinating with Hudson. Great.
So
thank you.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, great.
Second.
Edinburgh, yes.
Xander, yes.
Bernardo, yes.
Townsend, yes.
Sullivan, yes.
Really, yes.
I think that's everyone. Very good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.